I asked myself, okay, there must be someone's buying it, and just how I create my own market. If I'm listening to the news, listen to other people, I will never be able to do what I'm doing.
Today, we're interviewing Selena Cheung. She's located in Southwest Edmonton. So she's located in the province of Alberta. She has been amongst Edmonton's top 5% of realtors for 16 years running. She has 4 agents. She does about 90 transactions a year, and her average sale price is in around the $485,000 mark. She built her wealth very quickly as well, and she became a millionaire in under 2 years working in the business. Selena, welcome to the call.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Well, Selena, you're in a really hot market right now, and you're doing a lot of transactions. But I'm really curious to find out. And before we get into that story about how fast you were able to transition up and scale up your business, and the quick start that you had, I'm curious to hear a little bit of your backstory and what actually got you into real estate.
Oh, that's a good story. Well, I'm a CPA and I invest lots of properties in Alberta, Edmonton particular. Back then I was in Vancouver. And then I realized a lot of our properties underperforming. That's why my husband and I decided to move to Edmonton in 2008. Back then we had a market crash. And my husband said, why don't you get a realtor license so you can continue buying for yourself? That's how I got into the real estate.
Interesting. It's funny. When I first started, Selena, my wife said to me, well, no, actually, before I made the decision for real estate, I was looking for another hockey team. I was a hockey player prior to, and she said, Mark, you don't have to keep playing hockey if you don't want it. And it was like that suggestion, just like with your husband making the suggestion, it like changed everything for me. You get an idea, you get a suggestion, and it was like at that moment, I'm like, I want to get into real estate, and it's such a good, we'll say, example of being around the right people that want the best for you. I mean, if it's your spouse, that is phenomenal, but that actually holds true for not just your spouse, but people that are around you, them giving you ideas. That one idea can change your life in a big way. And it sounds like that was the case for you.
So true, because he said, yes, you can do it. You can do it. And I said, I never have any sales background. How on earth I can sell first property in the first year? And my husband said, you can do it.
Oh, man, having that supportive spouse, and that encouragement, it's
Amazing.
how important was that for you when you started to have that?
It's truly amazing. You can imagine from Vancouver to Edmonton, and we only know 5 people. That's including 2 realtors, a lawyer, and my neighbors. That's it. And I was like, I can never do that. But amazing. The first year I did 56 transactions, over $280,000 in commission. And I was a Rookie of the Year for my brokerage and the top 5% in Edmonton.
Okay, so that's incredible. I want to dig into that. First, before I dig into that, your spouse supporting you, it's interesting that in real estate specifically, having a supportive spouse we found to be one of the biggest indicators if an agent's going to be successful or not. And so we've seen through the years agents that have a spouse that they're not supporting them at home, and we found through the years they've actually transitioned out of the business. And so that's actually one of the things that we do on a final interview to become a sales partner with our team. We actually allow the spouse to actually meet with us, with the agent, of course, and we actually have like a sit down, and we allow them to ask any questions they want, and we tell them a little bit more about the story, and we give them a chance to get to know us, because for us as an agent coming on and within a company and within real estate to start, it's not just an individual that you're bringing on. It really is a partnership, because real estate is it's hit or miss in regards to timing, right? You're always on. Sometimes you have to go show a house, on the weekend. And if you don't have that support there, it makes it really tough.
So true, because when I was in the movie theater with my husband, we newlywed, and then I have to go out and answer all the calls all the time, or in the dinner all the time. So definitely needed the other party to understand.
All right, Selena. So let's dive into this phenomenal start that you had. What on earth did you do? Because, it's one of the biggest things for agents when they start is like, how do I generate business? But for you, it seemed to be just natural. So what were the steps that you did in order to have, over 50 transactions in your first year? It's an incredible start. What did you do to make that happen?
But first, if you know Alberta market, especially Edmonton market, we had a spike in 2007, and that was like over 100% increase. And in 2008, it's busted. So the market is like the sky is falling, nobody's buying. So I asked myself, okay, there must be someone's buying it, and just how I create my own market. If I'm listening to the news, listen to other people, I will never be able to do what I'm doing. So I thought, you know what? If nobody's buying, people is rent. Let's just target investors. And that's why I have my newsletter. I've been writing my newsletter since 2005. So I have a people in my newsletter. And then I started promoting Edmonton. Buy Edmonton, buy now. And by doing that, we have a lot of investors start looking to buying in Edmonton. That's why my first year, majority, I work with investors.
Investors. So you found a need. That's really smart. And like it's so good because you went into that market and you only knew five people. And so I think this takes the excuse from agents like, I don't know anybody. It's like, neither did Selena. And she still did over 50 transactions in her first year, only knowing five people. So the newsletter, was that at the core of what you did? Because, a lot of people would say, hey, I want to work with investors too. Is it the newsletter was the main thing, or was there anything else that you did to be able to attract these investors to call you, or was that it?
So the newsletter is get me to the relationship. That's very first. And then of course, I have to build up that relationship. So I went back to Vancouver almost every 3 months, hosting events. By Edmonton, by now, we give that exactly what needed to do and learn about the Edmonton market.
That makes a lot of sense. It's smart to see, okay, where people are actually, where are they buying from? So for you, it's like investors, there probably wouldn't be a lot of people in Edmonton that would see it. Like generally, when you're in the market and it's like an incredible buying opportunity, it's like there's some sort of haze there. It's like I can't see it. It's been horrible. It's always going to be horrible. But the investors say coming from Vancouver, they see maybe Vancouver is not affordable, or maybe it's overpriced, and you can look over to Edmonton and say, "Wow, you can get that for that price." So you got to see people where there was a market that needed it, and you were able to connect the dots by doing those conferences, those events every quarter, and then you match that up with your newsletter as well.
Exactly. Yes.
And where was the newsletter being distributed?
So when I meet people, like for example, I met you today, Mark. So I start talking, and then I will get your email address, and then I'll follow up with you within 24 hours, and send my newsletter and get your consent. Says, hey, would you like to stay in touch with me? So most likely you will say yes, and then you will be in my newsletter. And then there's also the way how you write the newsletter. We can talk that later.
Oh, that's so good. So I love the approach there as well, the newsletter. And so how often would the newsletter, how long, like how often was it going out, and is it going out?
Once a month.
Once a month. Okay. So we're going to talk about the how. We're going to circle back to that as well, because for me, it's like picking we'll say a channel and then doing it consistently, I think is one of the magic things about real estate. And as real estate agents, we get very distracted, there's a shiny penny over there, the shiny object syndrome, right? It's like, oh, this. And then you go to a conference and like, this is the best, like, oh, we're going to do that. And it's constantly surfacey, and you're not like, in Edmonton with oil, right? You gotta drill the well and go deep and pull that out and keep pulling it out, right? And become the expert on that. you were able to do that for the newsletter.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the newsletter is a follow up every month. That's 12 follow up a year to the potential buyers and the sellers. So that's why people still contacting me. They got my newsletter 10 years ago, never contact me and suddenly say, "Hey Selena, I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to sell."
It's amazing. And is it
Mhm.
always an online newsletter or was it ever physical?
It's always online. We
Yeah.
always send it out. Used to send out by PDF back then in the early 2000s, and then now just online. We have a system to send it out the newsletter.
It's hard to beat the, we'll say, the ROI on that. You get one deal. It's like, how much money do you invest? It's really your time and your knowledge on something like that with email, right? So it's something for 100%. All agents can do it and should do it. It's the consistency of it, I think, is the magic sauce. Would you agree with that?
Totally. And it's really easy to write, honestly, because the newsletter is about you. In this case, it's about me, what I do this month, and what I can inspire you, what value I can provide to you. So it's very personal and it's a certain way to write, that way to engage the mind. Put it that way, if a grade three can read your newsletter, that's good.
Okay, well, listen, I'm curious now, and I think the listeners are curious. You've dropped a really good nugget. You got to keep it simple as well, which makes a lot of sense because I think as real estate professionals, it's easy for us to use internal lingo. It's like, does the average person know what that is, and is it simple enough? Let's dig into the how you build a newsletter and kind of the steps, and how long should it be, and the content. Like, how on earth do you keep on coming up with the content for it? So maybe can you take us through some of the lessons learned on building out your newsletter?
So the newsletter for my newsletter is basically usually three stories, and each story I take less than 30 minutes to write, and each story should have less than 300 words. That's why I call it 330 300 formula. And for the newsletter, the first one is all about, in the beginning, what I did. For example, the Canada Day next month, right? So I've been in Canada for over 30 years, how I feel. Market update. What's happening in this market and what can encourage the buyers and sellers to take action. That's the second story. And the third story is about my family. I usually put my little girl, she's 12 years old. She's just got her black belt. I will say a little bit of story about her. So that's my three stories for the July.
What was the first story?
First story is about myself. Usually just like, yeah, it's for example, Canada Day in
Got
July.
it. Got
I've
it.
been in Canada for 30 years and how I feel about these 30 years. Just a little touch, just very simple.
Yeah, it's like internal dialogue that you would share of what's
Yes,
going on in Selena's mind.
yes,
And the second is the market update. Here's what's going on in Edmonton. And then the third is more of a family update.
exactly. Yes,
And it's short, 300 words per story, and that's
yes,
it.
yes.
There's
It's
our
mhm.
Go
It's
ahead.
meant to keep the relationship, showing who you are in the story. It's never about selling. Hey, buy this property or buy that property. It's nothing like that. It's all adding values to someone's life.
This is so there's no listings in there or anything. It's all, so that's so good. And you're adding value. It's interesting as from a newsletter, it becomes like a monotonous, oh, we got to do the newsletters, kind of slap it together. But you built your whole business around this newsletter.
It started with newsletter and a lot of speaking engagements and lots of hard work.
Of course, yes, of course. And unless you do a lot of transactions, I think it's hard to understand what that kind of, we'll say, elevated productivity actually is like to be able to do that. But to be able to do it from scratch and then build it up and then keep doing it consistently year over year is something that you should be really proud of on that end. So, are there any other lessons learned on, say, coming up with ideas? Like, how do you, month over month, how do you keep on coming up with these creative ideas? Because I think that's like maybe an objection for some agents. It's like, I don't know what to actually write about. So you gave some really good outlines, but how do you come up with these, creative new things to talk about every month?
So that's for my newsletter or in general?
For the newsletter.
Oh, for the newsletter. Well, there's a lot of things to talk about, Mark. Like if I read a book, it's so inspiring me. Then I can just write a little summary about this book, what I learned and how I utilize it and how you can learn from that.
Mm,
So the formula is start from I, what I did, and what's in there for you. Because when people reading my newsletter, it's all about what's in there for them.
hmm, that's so
Mhm.
good. No, you know what? It's so interesting. Selena, like the newsletter is something that, a lot of agents, they have large lists, but, they're spending so much money on lead gen and trying to get new business, but they have this list there that is extremely valuable, but the amount of time that's invested in it is very little to like none. And it's like, they'll outsource it to a third party company, and they're missing like there's acres of diamonds. I don't know if you've heard of this story where the farmer he sells his farm to go find diamonds in a distant land, and then he's looking, doesn't find anything. He comes back and he realizes that the farmer that bought the land, he's like a multi millionaire because there were diamonds in it out of his property that he had sold, and so he sold the property that was valuable to go look. And the newsletter, I think, is a really good example of that. That to get one's email, I mean, there are a lot of companies that spend millions of dollars to buy other companies, and their email list is at the heart of what they're actually buying.
It's so true. Yeah, it's a very personal touched about your newsletter. It's all about you, and you wanted to show the world who you are, what value you can bring on the table, and to inspire others. Because people like to do business with people they like, they trust, and how you build that relationship. You can't just call them every day, hey, trust me, I'm your best realtor. No, you can't do that. What you can do is to generate the newsletter, create that newsletter to show them your personality, what you do, and what you know, and how you help them. That's about the newsletter.
It's great. Of the 90 transactions, what percentage do you think, and it's probably fluctuated through the years, would actually be, we'll say, originate or stem or be a spinoff of the newsletter?
So for my track is about 30% from repeat customers,
Yes.
30% referrals, and then 30% is building the new people, and then there's a 10% is from the lead generations. That's approximately.
Yeah. No, that's great. So that this is like a real gem, I think, for the listeners, is this newsletter. I know I'm kind of diving into it a little bit more, but I think it's your approach to it is really smart. It makes a lot of sense. And you've obviously been doing it for many years. And I love your approach with like personalizing it and bringing your personality to it, where they're actually getting something of substance and not just like this third party, BS. We'll call it BS, because that's where it's like, it's just more of the same, and they never open it, right?
Anybody can talk about market update, but what that market update related to my clients, what the market update related to me, how I take action, that is something people wants to know.
Mm. Have you seen any agents do it well doing a weekly newsletter? Have you ever thought about making it more regular than once a month?
For me, I only do things what I love. So once a month is good for me.
Yes, yeah, because it's a heavier lift.
Yes. And but I actually start teaching the agents in my brokerage, start writing your newsletters.
Oh, great. So you actually, no, that's smart, because there's definitely, I think, a need out there for that. So that's great. All right. So the newsletter, what else would you do for lead generation that really makes you generate business? I think that's a big question for a lot of agents. It's like, how do you generate business that are out there? You got your repeat and referral, you have your repeat and referral, and then the lead gen side of it. What else do you do to generate business?
You know, Mark, most of agents want always to learn the lead gen. But for me, I'm not that working hard on lead generations in the beginning, even in now, because the reason is there's two group people, people you know, people you don't know. And for the people I don't know, I don't want to spend too much time and effort. And I know a lot of agents focus on people they don't know, so they wanted to do the lead gen. But the reality is you already have the database in your email. What I do is to stay in touch with the people I already know to build a long-term relationship. Every people I met is $1 million relationship. That's what I'm thinking. And maybe in Toronto or other areas of 2 million or 3 million or was it 10 million, whatever you name. But the thing is, it's a life, it's a long-term relationship. All I have to do is taking care of them, taking care of their needs and their want, and I am already good. So I don't really do too much lead gen. I never do the door knock. That's just not me.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit more. What else do you do? So there's a newsletter. So you work with a client, they say close, which we're gonna do this a little backwards. Generally, I work at the front and kind of work our way to the end. But let's talk about that. So you work with a client, they close with you. What else do you do to stay in touch to make sure that that relationship stays warm? So you have your monthly newsletter, which is highly curated, highly valuable for them, with the three stories that you're breaking down. What else do you do to keep that relationship warm?
Well, I will ask once a year if they need a CMA, the market
Yep.
update. And then I will, during the tax season, I'll remind, hey, it's a tax, you make sure you pay your tax. So always give some um, excuse to contact them. Yeah, but I don't really chase too much. It's just not my personality.
Yep. Yep. Excellent. Okay, great. Okay, do you do any events or anything? Is there anything that you do with your clients to actually meet or build community outside the newsletter?
Right now, I haven't had too many events going on since COVID. We stopped all the face-to-face events. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I do like to go back to create more events like Buy Edmonton, Buy Now. But because for the last few years, it's a seller's market, so it's not good for the buyers. Buyer has
Yeah.
to be competing. But I can see the market is more balanced, so I'm started doing some events in the probably in September.
Excellent. Okay, great. Okay, now let's go back. So you generate, say, a lead comes in or a past client that reaches out to you to say, "Hey, we're thinking about buying a house." Do you actually have a like an actual presentation, or what does your buyer process look like when a new buyer reaches out to you and says, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a home"?
So normally I do is will sit down with me or my team and to figure out what they need, what they want, and do they qualify. And once we have all the information, we start, of course, the normal things start to show them homes.
Mhm. Do you meet as a standard with all your clients at the office first before meeting a client? Like, say if somebody calls in on one of your listings, do you actually have a process where they come to the office first, or will you go out to the house and meet them there for the first time?
Mark, I don't have a standard, have to do my way. It really depends on the buyers. Some buyers, they are very hyper. I want to see that house or wanted to put offer. Definitely, I'm not going to set a meeting with them.
Got it.
And some buyers, they could be like for myself, accountant, engineer, airline pilots.
Yeah.
They wanted the detail, they want a checklist. That would be best to bring them to office to go through the buying process, every step, don't miss anything. So, and some people are very controlling their bottom line. They don't want to choose waste the time. They just want a delivery what they want. So it really depends on the personality.
That's excellent. Now, the customer service side, so somebody comes on, they start working with you. Is there anything that you do that we'll call it maybe a wow when it comes to the service that you're able to deliver clients that maybe is above and beyond what other agents do, or maybe it's different than what other agents do?
Now, when I first started real estate, as I mentioned to you, I never have a selling experience. So what I did is I read a book and it says 90% of people hate their realtors. So I said, okay,
What book? Do you remember what book that was?
it's something a new Rocky or something. Can't even find that book, but it
Okay.
says
No, that's
90% people hate their realtors.
interesting. Yeah.
So I said, okay, all I have to do is ask these 90% people love me. So what I do, oh, give them a Disney kind of experience. Everyone love Disney because it's fun, it's excitement. So that's what I do is create the whole thing. It's not like buying, buying, buying. It's like to shopping around to see what you like, what you don't like. And then we narrow down to find the best for you. So I always create that experience for my clients and then for help them to make the buying decision and also to answer all the questions because a confused mind will say no to you.
Got it. Okay, great. Okay, now doing the 90 transactions a year, how, we'll say from a productivity standpoint, what do you do on a regular, say a daily basis? Maybe you can kind of share what your average day would look like in order to do that kind of volume.
So my average day, I work a lot because for me, working is fun. Like you can call me a workaholic, but I just really love what I do. So for me, it's not a work. For me, it's a fun. So normally in the morning before 12 o'clock, I do lots of follow up. So this is what I do. If I tell my client what I'm going to do, so going to tell them what I do, I will do it and I will follow up, minimum three follow ups. For example, they wanted to see a house. I send them an MLS listing and answer all the questions and then a follow up. Would you like this home? Would you like to see it? So I do follow ups because every time the follow up is adding the credibility for our relationship. So follow up is my number one. And then prospecting, again, I always follow up. And in the afternoon, I do some showings. And nowadays, I work with most the sellers, and my husband work with the buyers. And I have agent doing open houses for me. So I will schedule that for our agents.
Got it. Okay, great. What do you think, Selena, is a superpower that you have? Like, what is your superpower?
My superpower?
Yeah, what is it that you have that you think is extra special that separates you from the other agents out there?
Mindset.
Mindset. Can you
Mindset.
explain that?
Well, I don't know about you. I always has little voice like I'm not good enough. Nobody wants to work with me. I always this little voice in my head.
Right.
And sometimes it's not even my voice, it could my parents' voice. So what
Mhm.
I do is every day I look in the mirror in the morning. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm gonna help that buyer or seller to help them sell or buy, and I'm their best realtor.
Love that. I love it. And, you know, that is such an important point. I'm really glad we brought this up about mindset overall because, you know, you had mentioned your parents that it's that little quiet voice in one's head that you have to overcome. You know, a lot of times it's our internal voice, but I think that, you know, the media doesn't do a good job either. 90% of it's negative. The world's coming apart. And, you know, maybe it's a friendship group that you're in, you know, the friends, like the friends that I went to high school with, it was interesting. Once I got married, we kind of, and my path started going towards doing other successful things. We just, our paths diverged and we stopped naturally hanging out. It wasn't like this big conversation, something happened and we just stopped hanging out. And so this is where maybe it's even a friendship group right now that an agent's hanging around with, or maybe it's a group within the brokerage. This is a big one that I see. You get part of perhaps a team or a brokerage, and it's very toxic and negative based. And so I love your approach about in the morning that I'm the best, I'm going to help people, and you build in you're intentional on building that strong mindset so that you can go out and conquer the world because it's hard enough doing it, you know, doing what we're doing, but to have that voice inside or having people from the side, we'll say chirping at you in a negative way is it makes it really tough.
it's a tough business. It's very lonely because when you're successful, like I sold 4 properties in one day, that's a great news. But I cannot share with my clients. I cannot share with lots of agents because they're jealous. So it's a very lonely business, and that's why I moved to Remax Excellence in January, and I started building relationship. I start to help other agents. I share what I learned. Um, I built a group. So in the my brokerage, I have a group of new realtor friends. We're learning things. We talk. We meet once a month. We learn different things. So definitely, the support from the brokerage is so important.
I love it. I love it. Is there any other suggestions you have for the agents that are feeling beat up? A lot of agents are feeling beat up right now from the market. There's second guessing being in the business. It's they're in a storm. What encouragement or advice would you have for them?
Well, I would say the challenge also create opportunities. So what happened in Ontario is a perfect time to start looking to buy because a year ago you cannot buy what you can buy today. So definitely you create your own market, you start to educate your clients to say, hey, this is a golden opportunity. You pay less and you get a better deal. And also for the new agents or other agents, important to find a good brokerage that they supporting you. I've been with over 6 brokerages, and I know there's some brokerage are very toxic. It's all about the dog eat dog, who steal my cookies. Don't go into there because it's abundance. It's all about helping others. I'm helping all the agents in my brokerage because I want them to be successful. I wanted to have an environment I'm in, everyone's successful. It's all about, oh, let's go to $1 million goal. Let's go for sell more. It's not about, oh, the market is crashed. Market is doing what market is doing. That we have no control. But I have control what I do today in 90 days to generate that income or to generate that result. So that's what I would say to share with the agents.
Selena, I think that's so helpful for agents that are out there and they're going through a tough time right now. And I think that's a really great suggestion is like look around the people that are around you and are they building you up? Are a good one for me, and I relate this to your spouse, is that when you meet the right spouse, they the filter is do they make you a better person or not? I think that is such a really good filter when it's like I'm not really sure. First off, if you're asking, hey, that's what I tell the kids, like when you meet somebody and you're thinking about getting married, if you come and ask me, I don't know, do you think this is the right match? Is like the answer is pretty clear. That's not the right match. Like but the next question there is, do they actually make you a better person? And I think that's where the people that you hang around with, ask yourself, when I'm around them, do they make me want to be a better person? Do they make me the best version of myself or a better version of myself? Or if it's a negative and you're constantly have these negative characteristics that come out after, I see this with their boys sometimes. They get around another kid and all of a sudden they come back and it's like they're a little bit different. They start to do things. It's like, ooh, that's not a good influence. So we try to, mitigate that relationship and keep that separate. But the same is true for, agents on a day-to-day basis. So if you're not feeling like encouraged and you're feeling beat up, like first take a look at your sphere of who you're hanging around with. And I think that there could be we'll say, an easy tweak that you can do that will really help catapult your career.
Oh, totally. Well, people is a huge influence on you, so you have better be careful who you are surrounded with because you become one of them.
Such wise counsel. I'm so glad we tapped into that, Selena. That's really good. So, Selena, you ended up becoming a millionaire in under 2 years. So, I want to transition to the investing side of this. So, this is something that you've thrived in. I mean, you had a really phenomenal start, and we talked a little bit about how you made that happen. But becoming a millionaire, that's something that a lot of agents want to get to. So, how were you able to do that in such a short period of time?
Real investing in real estate. The real estate is still the most safe vehicle to generate the wealth. Consider why bank will give you mortgage for the real estate, right? So that's how I use real estate as a vehicle to generate wealth and to quit my six-figure income back in 2000, 2007.
Mm, I totally agree with you 100%. So, was it single family homes that you were buying, or were you buying multi units? Tell us a little bit about the type of real estate that you've been buying.
When I started investing in real estate back then, I bought in BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, all type of properties, about 100 properties. And then I realized it's too much hassle. I don't want to dealing with lots of tenants. So it's including multifamily, fourplex, or two-bedroom condo, something like that. So I realized this is just not my formula. Now I'm only looking for good single-family homes in the best area, location, location, location.
Mm. And are you looking primarily in the area that you're serving right now? Is that where you're buying real estate today?
I stopped buying because the seller's market, I don't buy when the price is high. I buy when the price is low because you buy low and sell high. That's how you make money, right? So when people is scared the market is falling, nobody's buying, I will buy because that's why I make an equity on day one. And then, of course, rented it out. There's a seven profit centers in real estate. So that's how I investing in the real estate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how many units are you holding right now, of rental properties that you've been able to build up to?
Well, right now I sold most of the rental properties because I bought a lot. Back in the early 2000s, I bought a lot of condos because they are cheap. And then the Edmonton market took forever to get where we are now. So I see the profit. I just sold. Last year I sold over a dozen, and this
Nice.
year I sold another six. So now I have less in my profile. But the thing is, they're very good, generate a great cash flow, great tenants. I don't need too many. I just need a handful of six, seven properties for my
Excellent.
retirement
Well,
and
that's
pay off.
and they pay them off. That's
Yeah.
excellent. Well, and I think you tapped into something that I believe is one of the most important things that a realtor should do is buy the stuff that we're selling.
Yes.
Be your own customer. And I think what that does, Selena, is when you're speaking with an investor, you can tell them you're walking the talk, like you're
Oh,
actually doing it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think what that does, it actually that will actually improve the number of transactions that you do if you own real estate. So if you own an investment property, then you can tell an investor that's coming on, yeah, I'm an investor too. I own an investment property, and here's a little bit about what the portfolio looks like. Uh, if you want to get good at something, go do it. And if you want to work with more investors, go buy more real estate. In your case, you have a really great story to be able to say, "Hey, listen, we're buying all through this period." And do you find that it helps you actually get more business and resonate more with investor buyers?
Oh, yes, totally. Because it's earned the stage. Because I know what I'm doing. I own all kind of properties. I know how they're performing, how they do it. So yes, and of course, as a realtor, if you don't own your own house, you shouldn't be a realtor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think 100%. I mean, own your own principal residence. And there's a lot of talk. Grant Cardone talks about never buy your own house, and I'm so not in that camp. What they're trying, and same with Robert Kiyosaki, they say your house isn't an investment. Well, technically, he's right in the sense that he says it's not an asset. Robert Kiyosaki, to be fair, that's his statement, and it's based on his formula. He's right, or his definition of an asset. That an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. And that book was a game changer when I was 17. I read it, and that helped me change my mindset to invest in real estate. But the approach that some clients are talking about is like, I'm just gonna rent my own house, and then I'm gonna invest in investment properties. But what's interesting is that a lot of them don't end up actually investing in any other real estate outside of that. And not only that, with their principal residence, they miss the principal residence exemption. so you can grow your own your home that you're living in tax free, and you're going to be having a monthly payment anyways. So like, why not take advantage of that? I The wealth gap is like 30x if you own a home compared to renting. And I've heard some people try and like pitch this story of renting is better than buying, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how can some people actually take that position? It's like, please buy a house as fast as possible, because that's the number one wealth determinant I think in this country is home ownership between the wealthy and the ones that aren't.
Yeah, because appreciation and against the inflation. And on top of that, in 25 years, your home double or tripled, but you still living in that house. As your rent will be double and tripled, but you don't get any equity. So of course, owning your home is the first. Pay off your home, that's smart. And then pull out the equity to investing, that's the next step.
So smart, so smart. So, what advice would you have for investors in today's market? So, you gave some really good nuggets. Are there any? Say a buyer comes to you and they're looking to invest. What advice are you giving investors today?
So for investors, I would say, first don't just to focus on the cheapest house on the market. There's cheap for a reason. And you can buy a cheap house and you end up lose all the equity in the long run. So always make sure you do your numbers and also what are your exit strategy. When you sell this property, who is the next buyer? Right? So you needed to put that in consideration and what's going on in that community. Are they continue expanding or there'll be people moving out? So you have to do your market research before you investing. It's the investors, most investors, they don't do their homework.
Hmm.
They just okay, buying based on emotion. But as investor, you need to be very logical thinking every single steps. That's why a good realtor will help you to go through every steps, right? To get what you want, to help you create the wealth.
So, Selena, I just want to underline something that what you said there that shows your how advanced you are. When you said that you got to know who the buyer is when you're buying an investment property down the road. And so this is something when we buy these apartment buildings down in the US, we have a sister company, Faris Capital. That's one of the biggest things we're looking at is when we're going in and we buy these value add apartment buildings, we go in, we execute a business plan, we renovate them over a period of 2 to 3 years, and then we look to sell it. One of the biggest things we look at, okay, down the road, who's going to be buying this property, and does it fit their buy box? And sometimes it's like we're only going to renovate half the units and we're going to leave some meat on the bone because it's going to be probably another syndicator or a private equity group that's going to come in and want to finish it off, and here's the business plan for that. But the way that a realtor can look at this now is if they're looking to say flip a home, that may be something that, okay, who's the buyer down the road for this? And say, even if they were to hold on to it for a while, and if they were to want to sell down the road, it's like, do you want to sell it to a family? Well, probably a 3 bedroom would be better than a 2 bedroom. And if you see that, that's something you're thinking down the road, who's going to be buying that? And I think I just wanted to underline that because that is not something that I hear often. It's a more advanced uh, thing to think about that you brought up that just shows your maturity when it comes to the investing side.
And also you build in relationship because when clients appreciate you bring up this to them, the market cannot be promising go up, go down, but they will not be mad at you because you already talk about this today, not when they're selling. That's how you build a relationship. That's showing you care, you're knowledgeable.
So good. It's like, you don't want to buy an investment property that's backing onto the train tracks because, right? That's a good one. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're getting it at a discount now, but you better believe when you're selling it down the road, the buyer is going to want a major discount. And as the home gets more valuable, that cost is going to go up on a percentage, like
exactly.
based on percentage. So, uh,
Mhm.
really smart, really smart. I'm glad you brought that up. All right. So we have 3 questions here, Selena, for you, and they're going to wrap it up. We're in the rapid fire section of the conversation. You ready to go?
Brenda,
All right. Love your attitude, by the way, too. It's so infectious. All right. So First question is your favorite book that's made the biggest impact in your career.
Well, I would say The Rich Dad and Poor Dad. I read 20 years ago and it's still impacting me and it still helped me to play the real cash flow game in life.
So good. Yeah. And for the listeners out there, they actually have a game out there called Cash Flow as well, which is really good for your kids. They even have Cash Flow for Kids now as well. But Selena, that book as well, that was a major impact for me as what, the real estate investing. So definitely, I'd say like 75% of real estate investors that have done really well, they reference that book as like the game changer for them, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So great reference there. Second question, three words that, people that know you best, how would they describe you in 3 words?
Fun, loving, caring.
Fun, loving, caring. Excellent. And final question here, what advice would you give the agents that are listening to be able to help take their business to the next level?
So, first, you need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you'll plan to fail. So, just to set up the 90 days, 1 year plan, not just focus on the dollar amount, focus what you can bring to your clients, focus what service you can provide, and not listening to people are negative. Listen to the people like Mark, like you. Just to watch your YouTube video because there's so many wonderful information we can learn, and it's just get yourself that antidotes, vitamins to boost yourself, to keep you believe in yourself, and you can do it.
Love it. Love it, Selena. So good. Such a great conversation. For the real estate agents that perhaps they want to refer business to you, or maybe it's an agent in your market and they're thinking, like, how can I join Selena, join her team? What's the best way that they can reach out to you?
Well, just text me or call me. My number is, I believe you'll give it to the number out. And yeah, keep in touch with me. I answer most of my phone calls.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to have that contact information below. Selena, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure getting to know you a little bit more.
Thank you too. Thanks for your time.
Right on. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Now, if you're looking for ways to start building long term wealth beyond commission checks and love investing in real estate, I wanted to invite you to come and partner with us on our next US emerging market acquisition. Go to fulloutinvesting.com to learn more. I love you guys and keep on going full out.